Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. We've got little Partridge Betty here and I thought I would show you guys what I've been doing in the morning with her. So we've got our meds and yogurt loaded up and it has been finally making a really big difference to her ability to weight bear, which is great. But yeah, I thought I would take you along on our morning routine. Now, full disclosure, I am not very good at doing this and she doesn't like it, but we're learning, aren't we, Parchy? Parchy, come on, good girl. So you've got to be careful when you're giving the chickens meds that you don't squirt it down the back of their throat, because then they'll aspirate it and they can essentially, I assume, the same as humans, get like pneumonias and stuff like that and infections. So all I am confident enough to do is to squirt it in the front of her beak, which is why I thicken it with a bit of yogurt. And she still doesn't like it, but at least she'll eat it if I put it with yogurt. If I don't, she just tips her head forward and lets the medicine drain out, which is pretty offensive. Good girl. Yummy, yummy yogurt. You love yogurt. Oh, you're a good girl. But she, I think realizes I'm trying to help her. So she's a bit more chill with me than she ever used to be. Big Betty is still like that demon woman, comes in here all the time and does horrible things to my friend Parch. But everyone else seems cool. I just said we were cool. Don't try and squiggle away now. Good girl. Eat your yogi. You've still got some yogurt on the side of your face. Come on, eat your yogurt. Now I have to wrap her up in the towel, otherwise I just can't manage all the flapping and the everything by myself. Yesterday I did coccidiosis eye drop vaccinations for everyone except Big Betty, because Griffey wrestled me so much that I lost, hey, don't peck at me, lost a drop in the process. But somebody vomited yesterday, so she has to go back to the vet. So we'll get another dose at some point. Good girl, we lost some of the yogurt, but we'll put that on your food. I don't think I did a very good job of wrapping you up this morning. So that's Parchy's meds done. So what I usually do now is I either, while I've got it all wrapped up, I clean out her coop, or I just lay more newspaper over, which I'm going to do today because I cleaned it out yesterday. And then at the moment it's quite early in the morning, so the chickens are still in shade. Because Parchy's mobility has improved, what I will tend to do is let her out when the run is bathed in sunlight, so she can enjoy that a little bit. And obviously when I'm out and about, to make sure that she's not doing anything silly and running around too much. The thought process is that she has a tendon injury / bursitis, but not a slip tendon, because that would be a euthanasia situation. So she is finally doing better. It's Saturday today, and she started weight bearing again on the leg on Friday, and she saw the vet on Monday. So she's doing better, and hopefully we'll recover. I'm not really sure what the vomit situation was yesterday, but I mean, I wouldn't know if it was happening all the time, except that I literally gave her a grub. She bent her head down to pick it up, and out came this liquid that looked like the meloxicam, to be honest. But we're going to put Parchy back in her cage right now and hopefully get on with our morning, and I'm going to come back and clean the chicken run out later. So at the moment the chicken run is a bit of a diabolical mess. Oh, but I've been desperate to clean it out, but I wanted to move the compost bins in order to do that. And I started to try and do that yesterday and get everything sorted, but all that happened was I was losing my boot in the mud, and I literally couldn't walk because we've had another 7 inches of rain. And as I started to try and do that job, of course the clouds rolled in again. So today is supposed to be good. It is currently clear skies, so we need to try and find some energy and get some stuff done, because we've got more rain on the forecast. And honestly, it's totally, along with the rest of life, starting to get me a bit down, because you can't do anything. It's just been horrendous. You can't plant anything. Anything you plant will rot. I mean, this is exactly the reason why I got the raised garden beds, because at least they can drain a bit, and this soil is just so boggy. So one of the things I actually learnt at the chicken vet was that chickens can get bumblefoot not just from an injury that then gets a staph infection or a bacteria in there, but they can get bumblefoot just from damp conditions, which at the moment is a bit hard to combat. Because I haven't been able to clean out the coop because of the hideous weather, all I've been doing is just every so often coming in and laying a new pile of autumn leaves down, which is fine because they're just, scratching them up and composting them for me. But I would prefer to scrape it out and get all the poop out and everything. But I wanted to only move it once. If I was going to move the compost bins, I didn't want to have to move it twice. But I think what I've decided is I'm not going to move the compost bins. The reason I was going to move them is because on the side of the fence where they are, my neighbour was talking about putting in pyrosporums like I have all the way down, which is fine and great and dandy, except their hibiscus already sends roots into the compost where it is, and I didn't want basically to lose the compost due to roots. So I was thinking about moving the compost because I can now. It was placed with the hibiscus there deliberately because previously, before we had the chickens, Birdie would have potentially hopped up on the compost bin and then jumped over the fence, but she's not going to do that if there's a big hibiscus tree there. If I had put them down the very back here where I want to put them, she would have 1,000 times jumped over and gone after the big roo that lives down the back. But there's now a fence to stop them coming near the chicken coop, so I could put the compost really anywhere down here. But it's so muddy and it's so gross that I just, it's going to take weeks for that to dry out and be possible to do. So I think what I'm going to do is maybe just the compost needs to be turned and everything as well. I'm just going to turn it on the spot, and then as I turn and empty each bay, then I'm going to put pavers underneath it, and hopefully that will help prevent some root invasion. And I've got heaps of cardboard in the car, and hopefully that will just kind of deal with it for now. And then next time I do a big compost spread, which is usually at the end of summer, early autumn, because I almost never rotate my compost, but now I have compost rotators that are squawking this morning, and poop producers, which hopefully will make the compost hotter and speed up the process. I'm hoping that if I just do that, then I can gradually move them down the back when it's not so boggy. It does mean things like moving the pavers twice from where we'll set them up to move them where we want it to be. But the conditions at the moment are just obviously things could be worse, but it has been so bad. I think we're nearly at 85 inches of rain for this winter. It's just, and I think that's underestimating. It's just out of control, and it's just been so hard to get out and do anything. But blue skies, so let's get on with something. So we've got 4 large compost bins like this, one slightly smaller one that I need to add to this row. We've got another one of the smaller ones in the chicken coop, which I'm not adding anything to at the moment, it's just breaking down. And we've got a very neglected worm bin here. You can possibly see, great, we've got sticks falling on us now, and it's already rained again since we helped Partridge this morning. Oh, God. You can probably see that on the ground there is some weed matting. That is multiple layers to try and stop the roots from the hibiscus coming in. And you can see it's super effective because even the grass can grow through it. So I'm not going to bother putting any more layers down of that. I'm just going to put the pavers and then cardboard on top. And this one does actually have some chicken poop stuff in it, just because I ran out of space waiting for the weather to clear so that I could do this job. This was the empty one. So what I'm going to do is just take everything out of there, put it in the wheelbarrow, and hopefully not get covered in poop, but probably get covered in poop. And then start with this one, and then at least I've got something to turn the other ones into, and hopefully we can get this, even though it's not going to be set up where and how I wanted to, but at least it'll be done, hopefully, before it rains again.
Woke up to 17 new problems, blowing up my phone. Oh yeah, yeah, you know that if you let them, they'll try to break your soul. So I put on my robe and pour some coffee, turn off my notifications. The sunshine pouring through the window, sending problems on vacation. You gotta roll with it, just roll with it. Just gotta go with it, just go with it. Whole life is gonna spin out of control. Just go with it, just go with it. You gotta roll with it, just roll with it. Just go with it, just go with it. Oh, keep your eyes on the road, let go and just roll with it, just roll with it. I may be caught up in this traffic, but it won't stop my flow. 'Cause I still got my music slapping. Let's get this road on the show. Go on ahead and rain on my parade. I'll jump in those puddles every single day. Try to steal my joy, I'll just give it away. Well, that's okay, I got plenty more saved. Oh, you gotta roll with it, just roll with it. Just gotta go with it, just go with it. Whole life is gonna spin out of control. Just go with it, just go with it. You gotta roll with it, just roll with it. Just go with it, just go with it. Oh, keep your eyes on the road, let go and just roll with it, just roll with it. I got an answer and it hasn't failed me. Something that's constant when the winds are changing. It keeps me grounded when my heart is racing. Yeah, it's that whisper in my soul. Yeah, saying you gotta roll with it, just roll with it. Just gotta go with it, just go with it. Oh, life is gonna spin out of control. Just go with it, just go with it. You gotta roll with it, just roll with it. Just gotta go with it, just go with it. Oh, keep your eyes on the road, let go and just roll with it, just roll with it.
One of the reasons I am dead keen to do the compost today, and I use dead keen fairly loosely because my perfect idea would just be to leave the compost be. But we've got this bed of broad beans, and I planted these as a green manure to keep this bed occupied over the cooler season. We've got 2-ish more weeks of winter, and I find that the broad beans, once they flower, start to get covered in aphids. So I want to try and catch them before that happens. As yet I can't really, like, I'm not looking overly carefully, but I can't see heaps and oh, there are some, but yeah, okay, we're just going to pretend that's not happening and hope that chicken poo sets the compost on fire. But you ideally, if you're using something like broad beans as a green manure and you want the nitrogen to go into the soil, you really need to like do the chop and drop before they flower. They are starting to flower now, so really if I leave it much longer I will lose the benefit. I might have already lost the benefit of planting them for the purposes of getting the nitrogen. And the reason I'm not doing a chop and drop here is because I just don't think it will break down in time. And this enclosure is my one and only corn enclosure, and last year I managed to get 2 batches of corn from it. So this year I want to try and get 3 batches of corn, which means that really I could potentially start some corn seedlings this weekend, and if I'm feeling like I have some energy at the end of this task I might do that, but it means I want to get my corn in nice and early into this spot. And I actually need to do some work on sorting out these enclosures. Like the berry ones are a total mess, but I just mean the netting around them, but on all 3 beds. And like part of the reason they're a total mess is because the berry ones I did, and they've just sort of loosened in the wind and they need to be tightened. But my dad put this one up when I got home from hospital, having delivered my stillborn son, because he could see that my corn was starting to emerge from the ground, which I had planted right before Ollie died. And so he kind of did it differently to how I did it, and to be honest I think they've both weathered similarly, but this needs to be lifted up more for the corn to have room for the silks to be able to move a bit more, so that when the wind comes along, I mean not the silks but whatever, so that everything gets pollinated properly on the corn. And it just needs to be a little bit supported more. And the berry one I need to work on, because there are a few gaps that weren't problematic last year, but because the enclosure has been bullied by the wind a little bit, it's sort of opened those gaps up, and now there are regularly birds stuck in there. They can get themselves out because I've left the door open so they can get out. But once the berries start coming through, and I don't think we'll have a good berry season, to be honest, because we've got one bed that's been overtaken by weeds, a couple of blueberry plants that have died, and the strawberries are looking like they're half dead from all the rain. So I think it's going to be a bit rough. But anyway, we try and get everything sorted. These are all the things that I wanted to do in winter. I mean, I know it's still winter, but we have been thwarted at every turn. So if we can just get this bed sorted and get the broad beans kind of wrapped up and in the compost, then at least maybe the corn will work out, even if nothing else does. The other thing I planted in this bed when the broad beans were quite small was a whole bunch of silver beets, and that's for the chickens. So that will probably get pulled once the corn is ready to go. I just thought might as well. It's also got a ton of dandelions in it, which I've just left for the chickens, and a lot of volunteer carrots, because we had a whole bunch of carrots go to seed in the bed behind this one, and they seem to have spread their seeds far and wide. But at least this is some nice green material to go in the compost, along with all that cardboard and all that newspaper. All that newspaper, you might be going, you got way too much carbon in your compost, and that may be true, but I haven't been able to mow my lawn for the entirety of winter because it's like literally ankle deep in mud. And the other thing is that the newspaper is actually full of chicken poo. So I use the newspaper under the chickens at night, and then I come through pretty much every morning, roll it up, toss it in the compost, and at least they're pretty clean and sorted that way. and that's been working quite nicely, but hopefully the sheer volume of chicken poo will counterbalance the amount of newspaper and stuff we've got in there. And the newspaper is all free because my dad reads the newspaper every day, and so I just steal his newspapers, and that way my life is easier and his recycling bin is less full, and hopefully I will have significantly more compost than I've ever had in the past, because I've not had enough to date. But at least now we're producing a whole bunch more, especially along with all the winter leaves that we got from everyone's neighborhood areas to keep the chickens happy over winter. And I'm totally doing that again next year, but I'm going to start earlier, especially now I've got my locations for the best autumn leaves with no seeds, and now that I know that's an awesome idea. So I'm going to go and get this into the compost bin, and then we'll keep going and keep working on the bins until either I lose the will to go on or we get this job done, whichever happens first. A few videos ago we cut back the pittosporum privacy trees, and we made a pile of the offcuts at the base of the trees until the compost was ready to be done. I don't think that it's all going to fit in the compost bin, and I can't be bothered to like chop it up into smaller bits, and a lot of the leaves have come off, so I'm just going to put a little bit in, and hopefully we can, between the remaining bins, get some of it in and away. And I'm doing the same thing with scraping out in the chicken run, because I don't want the chickens to get out of the run because it is just so soggy. And as I said, I learnt from the vet that bumblefoot and a bunch of other things can just be caused by exposure to dampness. And last time they were out, the silly sausages were drinking from muddy puddles, and there's muddy puddles everywhere, and we don't need any more chicken drummers. So I'm just going to keep layering things in bit by bit until I'm done with this, but hopefully it'll be soon, because this is a much bigger job than I think I anticipated originally, and I'm so glad I decided not to move everything down the backyard. I feel like that would be such a mammoth effort, and no way. So without scraping out all the mulch that we've put in here, I've taken off at least the top layer of leaves. It's not as many as I would normally have liked, because it's been so wet and so compacted down over the weeks, because I couldn't clean it up any sooner. But on the plus side, I honestly think that it's started to compost a little bit, and it's keeping them warm. And at some point, I'm going to be able to come in and basically dig it all out and take a huge amount of compost and then replace it and start the process again. So it's not the end of the world, because even though it's not in the compost bins, this whole system is like a big compost bin. I've cleaned out most of the dirt bath. We're going to freshen that up. Then we're going to give the girls the last bag of autumn leaves, and then I might let Parchy back out for another little leg stretch. Even though today her leg is not as good as it was yesterday, I've taken her bandage off, and the sun is coming in, so it's a perfect time for her to have a little bit of exercise before she goes back into jail. And she's currently trying to dig her way out of jail with her head sticking out. So I'm going to get this all sorted, and then we've got one more compost bin to flip over. It's been a massive job, absolutely massive. So the big chunks of charcoal I take back out and scatter them around. They help absorb the poop smell or the ammonia smell, and I'll put a nice big layer of that in. And I'm also putting some lime. Whoops, that was probably a bit much, but oh well, we'll mix it in. And the chickens go crazy when I freshen up the dirt bath, and I bet Parchy will want to get in here. And because she's been, you know, under the weather essentially, I want to make sure she does get a little bit of mite management, because generally speaking your mites are going to affect your more compromised chickens. And of course she is more compromised because she's been sitting in jail now for nearly a week. So we'll let these girls get into that. I'm just going to spread the chunks of charcoal around, knowing that as I come stomping through they will get powdered. And then we'll put the leaf layer on top. So these two middle bins that we did together, we literally filled to the brim. And if I have checked this back one earlier, I would have seen that it's actually pretty feral. That's the one that I put a lot of like dog poop and stuff like that in it. So I just had no real interest in digging that one up and flipping it. So if I had looked at it before, I would have put the last of the broad beans and the last of the leaf scrapings that I put in this one down in that one to keep breaking down. So I'm just going to put bricks on all the ones that I don't want anyone to put anything else in the compost bin, because sometimes, you know, you have people over and you send one of the kids down to chuck stuff in the compost bin. So at least now we've got one to fill up, and I've got the smaller one down the back still to set up. But in order to do that, I need to get some more pavers and set up a little bit more weed mat, even though the weed mat's pretty ineffective. Down here, at least it's something, and I'm hoping that having the paver base will mean that when I come along to take the compost out, I'll lose less of it, because you're not digging into weed matting and trying not to pierce the weed mat. We'll see. We can always adjust from here to see how it goes, and there's different size pavers under each one, so maybe there's like a real sweet spot, but at least we've got these two very full and they can break down, and this one's sort of started. At least we've cleaned out the chicken run ish. I would like to lime all through there and fully clean out their house and their nesting areas and everything, but there's no point in dusting everything with lime or diatomaceous earth when it's going to rain again tomorrow. Yep. So I've also given them the last bag of the autumn leaves. I wish we'd harvested more, but they've got the last one now. As I said, a lot of it has just compacted down, so I'll just have to do like a deep litter method compost harvest from there at some point, which probably means realistically I might get lazier with cleaning out their coop. I hope not, but it might. Partridge is having a little dig around and a little eat, so I'm just going to go and make sure they've got clean water and everything, and then otherwise I've cleaned out everything. The chickens are fed, I've got the eggs, and finally we can eat the eggs, because I don't know if I explained this in one of the other videos. One of the reasons I reckoned Partridge initially got sick was a nutritional deficiency, which I think was caused because any information I'd seen was that if you still have some chickens that aren't laying, you have to give them all pullet feed plus offer them calcium. Otherwise you can wreck the kidneys of the younger chickens. And it wasn't until I accidentally pierced the bottom of the pullet feed that I saw that it was medicated for coccidiosis, which I didn't want, which actually had a 14-day egg withdrawal period, which we didn't know about. We were eating the eggs, so, you know, fun times. So that withdrawal period has finished yesterday, so we can eat today's eggs. And we took everybody off that feed because I didn't want that medicated feed to affect their gut lining any more than it already has, and potentially affect their ability to absorb nutrients, which then leads to these issues. I don't know how Partridge got her injury. We just have to keep plodding along and hope that she keeps getting better, at least with the medicine mix that you guys saw me do this morning. It takes so much less time to look after her. Before, it took me like hours every day to try and mix up food with the right amount of nutrients, try and get her to eat it, and she was on to me every day, and I'd have to change what I give her every day. It was a nightmare. So at least this way, I guess I'm getting better as a chicken handler, which I guess is a positive, but at least I know she's getting the right amount of medicine and she's getting it more directly, and hopefully it's all going down the right passageway, so at least she starts to get a little bit better, and at least we've got this big massive job ticked off and we can move on to some other things. And yeah, I'm glad that this one's behind me, but there's a few other big jobs I'd like to get done soon. But I'd also just really like to tidy up and do some planting. I would love to do some planting. Just can't wait till I open up my weather forecast and see that there's not at least 4 days of rain per week. Ah well, you play the cards you get dealt, so that's what we've been dealt this winter. So I think I need to, towards the middle of autumn, really start planning now for very wet winters, because this is 3 winters in a row now that it's been like this, and maybe rather than looking at winter as a time I get stuff done in the garden, maybe looking at it as like a maintenance period and a rest period. But we'll see how we go, and maybe next winter I'll be slightly less frustrated. we'll see. Anyway, I appreciate you guys hanging out with us. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I hope if you don't subscribe that you'll think about subscribing, and hopefully we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.